New Earth Strategies, Day 2. And that's my sweetheart, Mama Styles. She's had a few bitters. New Earth, we're into some new energies, which include the fact that I'm not holding back on some very strange information. I'm not the only one doing that. There's everybody putting out the weirdest stuff. And we're through the looking glass. It's a new Earth for those of us feeling it. And everybody else is going to have to catch up because it's a reality. Um, the energy shifted for me when I had that on the eclipse, day of the eclipse. And there's that incident, and I'll include that blow up in the photograph. My personal disclosure, something that could be transdimensional. I think it's there in a photograph. It's for real. And it got inside my head because it answered back what was my invitation to the out there, to ETs or whomever, going with the clock and then having being 12. So you invite within 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11. And then you say 12. Are you out there? And it's that emoji. It's the Mikey rockstar pirate emoji. And it's not just a pirate, it's a black heart. And I've had other things that made me certain about spirit dimension within my own perceptions. But this is from out there. This is confirmation that the whole cosmos and the physical world, including things that are happening on the news. And Chris is talking about the end times, the new age, which I'm saying generically includes everything else that's not, everything spiritual, that's not specifically masculine, intentional God creation, because that's a specific version of, let's be clear, because it doesn't help to just say, we believe whatever you want. No, we have specific beliefs. We can compare them. We can try to understand where we're coming from. And I'm saying there's basically three basic ones. There's two spiritual perspectives, and there's the pure materialite. I'm putting an "ite" on the end of each, so we understand that we're just being tribal about this, because reality itself is proving itself to be something that we're all still trying to figure out on all these levels and dimensions. From the pure materialite dimension, you have the Switzerland and CERN. They're talking about 17 dimensions. I've been joking about 17 dimensions for a long time. I'm joking about it. Yeah, but a lot of things I joke about turn out to be kind of interestingly close to real. I joked about we're entering the cartoon dimension when we came into this century, the 21st century. And the first thing you have is like, I just want to get into it. We're pretty cartoony, I think, in the way things are developing. It's like people are being parody of themselves. Conflicts are being, magnified. The us versus them has gotten really critically crazy lately, and things have picked up. Now, again, you've got three perspectives for this, and all of them are seeing kind of are pointing towards these. This is like, most specifically from the Jehovahite, it's the end times. Judgment Day and heaven on earth. Those are two different things in a way, right? Can you have heaven on earth and judgment day at the same time on earth? Or whatever. Anyway, my point is there's three very different, and yet they're all simultaneously jamming into each other. And a lot of finger pointing, in fact, is happening here. Because, as I say, two spirit perspectives and then materialite. Now, a lot of people are, and then there's the agnostic, where you can be materialite and think, yeah, maybe we don't know what the hell else. And even there, you don't know what people are trying to understand the material world, and the material world isn't very complicated. Are we really getting it yet? Obviously, but what is happening is that we understand now from quantum and other things, and even things that are proving the power of mental energy. The materialite is giving some credence to the idea that something, quote unquote, spiritual or perceptual dimension, the idea that being there-ness is an aspect of reality. Duh. Yeah, from the pure materialite side, you can X yourself out of the equation. And that's what people do. And it gets really cold-blooded, cold-hearted. And to the extent that everything is informed by materialite instead of a more kind of meaningful, personally meaningful set of values, what you're calling spiritual is what you're calling personal. It's what you're calling perceptual, receptive, being there-ness. And the whole universe is there, right? So it doesn't it need to have a being there-ness aspect of it. Anyway, yeah. So materialite, which is where all our institutions are, we've let our economy run completely materialite to the exclusion of actually taking into account some of the real values that are real, not just and so we're turning the whole point of it, which was to enhance people's lives, is turning out to be destructive in terms of most people's lives. I mean, just because you run it as pure wealth instead of what it means to people, and you have this situation where we're all overworking, not trusting each other, that's because we have a materialite version that we're running all our institutions by, and it's a good thing. That's what all the science is about. That's what all these inventions and all this cool shit, right? If we'd all stayed just happily understanding how peacefully we were with our tribes, we wouldn't be here in this global situation. And people want to go back to that. All right. We're through the looking glass. We're to a place where things are moving really fast, and they're going to keep changing really fast, no matter where you're looking at it from. From the materialite perspective, whether you want to call it global warming, it's more about biodiversity loss if we keep overtaxing the resources the way we are, indiscriminately, somewhat to some extent. I mean, outside of context of continuity and meaningful communities of sustenance and value, anyway. And then you have the two spirit sides that look at the whole thing, and everybody's looking at each other like, you guys are all crazy, right? The Israelites, the Jehovites accuse what I'm saying, the New Age and everything else that's not God, Jehovah, saying this and that. I'm saying they're all three real. I say, Mike, how could they all three be real? Well, I have a vision that puts them all together. It does, it does tread on some of the details about, I say, especially from the Jehovite side, because that's a compression of the information so that it could be handed to some people with just a minimal of conceptual understanding. The whole Christian path is about getting it from the heart and connecting for real with real energies that really do heal and really do bring you into the fullness of spirit. But they don't explain it all because it's paradoxical and it's difficult to get. And so there's a strategy. This is why Jehovah is real. There's a focused intentionality about what's happening in the political and in the big scale pictures and the energies and the prophecies that takes into account all of our all the difficulties in coming into being real, and understands that there needs to be a message that just lets people get it without understanding it, because it is so complicated, difficult to understand. The complicated, difficult to understand part of is what the Buddhites are taking on. And you can almost make a case that Buddha himself was not spiritual. He was just trying to understand what it means to be human, what it means to be alive in a body in reality. And there are lots of good practices there that let you get to a transcendent understanding, and not just understanding, a transcendent beingness. That's what it goes beyond. It becomes understanding because you be there. You're there. You feel it. You can translate it into words, but that doesn't actually. You can only confirm that you're there when the words match, but you can't get there by just using those words. You have to get into practice and actually being there-ness, which involves heart energy and other energies and all of our different energies. There's a lot of three things. Threeness comes up because that's the structure of things. It's don't get fascinated by the conceptual aspect of three, but the Trinity as described by the Jehovahite, by Jehovah, because yeah, there's an intelligence there. That's important, and how you understand that, and there's different ways of understanding it. Now, what comes from the fact that there is an authority, a higher spirit authority that is giving us real word, but that puts you into the fallacy of authorities telling everybody else that they're wrong, and that's what the Christians get into, and the Jehovites in general. Everybody else trying to find their own way. Sorry, if you don't do the word, you're wrong. It's like, that's wrong by itself. What you just said, that everybody's wrong, trying to find their own way, is wrong. And the misreading of only through me can you get to, yeah, maybe that part. You can get to enlightenment with the Buddhite path, but you don't get to the full salvation thing where it's, we can all relax now. No one's gotten there yet. You can get to heaven and you sort of feel it, but it's still, you look back and the material world is still going through all this turmoil and conflict. And we're talking about a place of heaven on earth and judgment day. That's what you get from the Jehovahite side of this whole thing that you don't get from the other two sides. From the materialite side, we're just like, maybe we're not going to blow ourselves up. Maybe we're going to have a civilization that's fair. Maybe, and maybe all that. From the Buddhite side, you get the idea that the whole reality is based on a foundation of presence energy that precedes Jehovah. It's where we all come from. Jehovah comes from there. But so do the rest of us. Now, he did get there before most of us. And it's in my vision. You got to get over it. If you're from the Jehovahite side, don't worry about it. You got the information. You're connected to spirit. Hang in there. Stay true. Stop pointing fingers at what you don't know. Follow the word, which is love your neighbor, even if they don't agree with you. You get that part? So now the Christians have been pointing everybody else evil. Now they're getting called evil by the left. The left, which is supposed to be about understanding people's perspectives, are now just calling people out as evil. Come on, it's a parody of that. You're supposed to look in the mirror and go, oh, whoops. Aren't we the ones that are supposed to be tolerant? But now we're the ones calling everybody out for racist, misogynist, homophobic, narcissistic, everything else. And you personify all of that in Trump? Trump, who's an amazing individual from any objective measure. And you want to get into all this, pointing fingers at everybody. Oh my God, stop. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's a place where it comes together. It's an understanding that the ground of spirit is where we all come from. But there's a development. There's an evolution. This is where there's no separation of the dimensions. It's all on top of each other. And there's just different perspectives. And you can tune in to higher perspectives. What they're calling the 5D is a perspectives that tunes you in to where you need to be connected. And all of these things are real in ways that are hard to describe materialistically. That's why you have different schools of spirit. How is it that they're all real? Well, when they get to their true, deeper, centered understanding is where their perspectives are real. And then there's different perspectives that are all valid. I've tried to share my creation myth. Nobody wants to hear it. No worries. We can work out the solution on the ground. Once you have a company, a company. So this is a right wing, but you have the faith in that it's going to work out from Jehovah, and but you let in the spirit information of people getting connected to who they really are, understanding what they're really in it for, which is connection to each other, their own heart, their family, their community, the ecology of the planet. It comes together in the materialite, detailed version of we got to get the economy right, we got to get the science right. But then it comes together in the fact that it's meaningful to all of us as we each make our own personal connection to spirit that the Buddhites suggest. But if you just leave it to the Buddhites, this is just another ascension and we keep doing this and there's no progress. But there is progress in the whole cosmos towards a greater understanding, because finally we all have enough information and empowered perspectives to bring it all back together, work out our differences in the conscious material plane of having a discussion like right now. But you got to stop pointing fingers and understand what's valid in each of these perspectives. What's valid in the material plane perspective, we got to work it out on the ground. We got to make this economy really work for everybody, and not in an ideological kind of way, but in a practical kind of way. So businesses that really do create community, ground to renewable resource, make it, scale back our production and use to something meaningful instead of just everybody sell what they can. And then you get the Buddhite thing where we all ground to our understanding of who our own source, spirit, and among the most elders of us was Jehovah, and Sophia was there, but she was powerless until Jehovah showed up. And he's telling us it's going to work out now. We're working it out now. Step up, face your demons, as it were, the things that clash, and work it out. It's meant to work out.